forgive me for using this framing, but I think it is actually helpful. I'll just tell you that one of the focuses of what we sought out to accomplish on Manna was making a payment app that was as easy to use as Venmo. All the funds that you hold in a Manna wallet are secured and derived from keys that are generated through the standard liquid wallet protocol. It's just math. If everybody wanted to make one transaction on Earth, it would take, I think, somewhere around 13 years. Manna allows you to send and receive Bitcoin. The other cool thing about Manna is it has some pretty cool merchant tools. So if you are a business and you want to accept Bitcoin payments for something, it's great, especially for retail, because we have a point of sale built in where you can add products and services. Once you actually start living on a Bitcoin standard, the psychological aspects of how you interact with the economy change in your own mind. I think living on a Bitcoin standard is just changing which form of money you're using, right? So to me, Bitcoin is money, and I use dollars as a tool.
All right, welcome to the Bitcoin broadcast. I'm your host, Vince. Today we have on Adam Simecka, the founder and CEO of Manna Bitcoin. Is it Manna? Just Manna, not Manna Bitcoin?
Yeah, just Manna. It's cleaner.
All right,
you know?
just Manna.
Like the meme.
Awesome. All right, so you're the founder. It's been a little while since it's been live. You've had some good responses so far. First of all, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Awesome. Thank you. So first, do you mind just kind of giving me a little bit about background about yourself so people who know who you are who haven't heard you before?
I guess as it's pertinent to your audience, I started in about 2017 is when I started building in Bitcoin, my first business. That was called Hands Free Bitcoin, which was a mining company. We produced plug and play Bitcoin miners and ran that business all the way up to till today. It's still going. And then now I'm working on Manna. So this is mostly what I'm focusing on today is which is a payment platform. So it allows people to send and receive Bitcoin payments securely and easily.
Awesome. How did you first find Bitcoin? What made you want to go into building in it?
I was in the military, and I was actually deployed overseas at the time when I found Bitcoin. I was doing some research for some stocks, and I got some targeted ads from Investopedia. So I clicked on this ad that looked really enticing, and it was an ad for Ethereum. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I'm no longer interested in Ethereum, but I saw this article that caught my attention, and it was about proof of work. And so it basically described how, you could cryptographically prove that, this work had taken place. And then you can essentially use that as a reference point for the value. And, that's really what money is, being able to prove that you did that work. And the better you can make that proof, the harder your money is. And so it kind of clicked for me at that point, and I realized that this is something that I wanted to be involved in. I started doing my research. I went all the way down the crypto, casino trail and traded, and I made money, lost money. That's why I was there, right? It was about, you know, uh, you know, just getting the next bag to give to somebody else. That's kind of what it's all about. It's a zero sum game in crypto. And eventually I figured out that Bitcoin was not a zero sum game. And I realized that Bitcoin was the one thing that was different because it was the only one that didn't need an exit, right? Bitcoin is the exit. So I would say probably around 2020 is when it kind of I had this moment of clarity, and I realized like I just need to quit messing around with all this other like trendy garbage and just go all in on Bitcoin. So I went all in on Bitcoin in 2020 and haven't looked back since.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Yeah, dabbled around and then eventually, sold all the shit coins and just went all in on Bitcoin. Was like, yeah, I don't know why I messed with that other crap. But
Yeah.
but anyway, so Manna, I downloaded it. I sent some sats to it. It's pretty cool. Do you mind explaining what Manna is and why you decided to create it?
Yes. For the layman, and forgive me for using this framing, but I think it is actually helpful. Um, but one of I'll just tell you that one of the focuses of what we sought out to accomplish on Manna was making a payment app that was as easy to use as Venmo. So if you've used Venmo or a similar, Zelle or PayPal or something similar to that, something that people don't necessarily need to do a lot of work to understand how to use. It just works. In fact, Manna's like way more simple than Venmo. There's no bank account you have to connect. You don't have to give your name, your phone number, or even your email. You just download the app and you have a functional Bitcoin wallet. And the important part is it is self-custodial. That means the keys to the funds are held by you, and you alone. So somebody else isn't behind the scenes holding your money for you. The money is actually held by you, and you get to choose how, when, where, um, and why you want to send somebody money, right? So there's nobody in the middle that can stop you. There's no middleman in this case. So it is self-custodial, meaning you hold the keys to the money, and it is not held in an exchange or with a custodial wallet where you have to ask them for permission to use your money.
Okay, so because when I did download it, yeah, it didn't ask for like any KYC or anything. Um,
Right.
how's the regulation been with that? Because we've obviously seen like the samurai guys. That was like pretty devastating. And is that anywhere kind of similar to this? Do you have to like worry about things like that?
There's a couple questions in there that can be teased out. Firstly, what are the regulations like with a self-custodial wallet? Well, keep in mind the regulations that most people would be thinking about or referring to in this case would be regulations that are set out by the Bank Secrecy Act of 1971. So you've got things like KYC. You said it earlier. For people that don't know, that stands for Know Your Customer. We often say kill your customer because it seems to be that, like, when you give somebody KYC information and it is pooled in a honeypot, there's eventually going to be a data leak. And those data leaks, unfortunately, sometimes result in people dying. So it's like an extreme example, but I think it's a good framing. KYC is kill your customer, and then you have AML, which stands for anti money laundering, which I don't really necessarily even believe in because I don't think that money can possibly be laundered. I think that once you say that you can even launder money, it becomes not money at that point. Money, in my mind, is completely fungible, and if it's not fungible, it's not money. And if it is fungible, it doesn't need to be laundered. Like, money laundering isn't even a thing with a fungible money. That's not even like possible. So, uh, as far as regulations go, these things apply to what are called MSBs, which are money services businesses or money service businesses. And there are very specific qualifiers that make you a money services business, mostly whether or not you are handling people's money, which we are not doing. So Manna at no point touches anybody's money. We don't route payments. We don't hold any funds. All we are is a software that allows you to connect to the other parties. So if I want to send you money, Manna is just the app that allows me to, get your information so that I can send it to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So with that said, that's kind of the first answer. Is That's why we don't have to worry about those regulations. They don't apply to us for the most part. Now, obviously, there are still laws we have to follow because we're a business in the United States and everything. So we still follow all applicable laws. And as far as the samurai case, we definitely want to make sure that we are not going down the path of what they were essentially convicted for. And I'm not going to get too far into that just because there's a lot of, I think, just it's not super clear in my mind that they were charged for the right thing.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a very murky situation, and um, Yeah, it's really hard for me to opine on that. One, because I don't know all of the details, and two, because I just flat out don't agree with it, and I don't want to get too far down, saying anything publicly that would potentially put me in a similar category.
That's fair. Yeah. No, no, that's fair. I just had to ask, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
So am I worried about it? I'm not worried about it. Am I, cautious? Yes, I'm cautious, and I don't do anything that is illegal. I follow the laws. I don't say anything that's illegal. I don't ever advocate for people to do illegal things. So that's as good as we can hope for and do. Um, yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
yeah, and it is. Sorry to kind of go back to your other answer that you were like, it's like Venmo. I haven't sent any Sats to someone else, but sending Sats to it, it's actually almost like easier than Venmo because it's literally just like copy an address and like paste, and it's just like sends it super fast and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Go
Do you
ahead.
guys have
Sorry.
Lightning? Is Lightning attached to it? And then, so I guess first, what's the difference between sending your Bitcoin on, normal chain and then versus Lightning? And do you have Lightning attached to your wallet?
Yeah, so we abstract all of that. And what I mean by that is we take all of that, the protocol stuff, and we do a lot of stuff on the back end to make sure that the front side is super clean and easy. And so when you sent yourself Sats, where did you send it from? Was it a layer one transaction?
Yeah, it was from Strike. It was actually, I believe. Oh no,
Did you when did you put your like Vince at mannabitcoin.com or something like that to
y-
send it to, or did you?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So they would have sent it over Lightning then. They would have defaulted over Lightning. And so that's actually one of the cool things about Mana is it doesn't care if you're sending layer one. It doesn't care if you're sending Lightning or Liquid or eCash. It doesn't matter. We do all the stuff on the back end to make sure that it all lands in Mana in a one unified balance. And when you send it, you're able to send through all those protocols as well. We don't want you to have to worry about which layer or protocol you're using because I don't think that normal people long term are going to be wanting to figure all that stuff out. And so we work with it all. What we say is if somebody says, we want to send or receive Bitcoin, Mana is just going to work and you shouldn't have to worry about anything else.
I agree. I think a lot of wallets are like way too complicated when it gives you like multiple QR codes or like different addresses, and people sit there and you're like, which one do I click? Well, if I choose, just the normal route, the on chain or whatever, like then fees can be different, and it's just I like things as simple as possible, and I think you're right there that like most people are going to be like, I just want to click a button and have it work on the back end. I don't want to have to worry about, what I'm choosing. If I say I want to send you sats, I just want it to hit a button and have it send. And
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that's not like a universal statement. Just because like you can accomplish those things and do it very poorly in execution in a way that's like not private or like disclosing a ton of like data, personal data or information or financial information or unsecurely. So if you're not building things the right way, that's not like an excuse to just like build things that suck. It's still got to be built securely and it's still got to, keep people's information private. So basically we built Mana so that you can't mess it up. So we built, guardrails in so that you can't accidentally send somebody some Bitcoin and they know what your balance is, right? For example, which is very possible to use in a lot of other ways that you might use Bitcoin. So, um, that's what I'd say there. Like we're not like easy at all costs. It's like we're easy and we're also, all these other things that are also very important, security and privacy. So, yeah.
okay. Is Mana open sourced?
Yeah. So Mana is built on open source protocol, which is mostly our backend is Bolts right now. So Bolts is fully open source with their GitHub repo. publicly available, and that's what handles the swaps that is basically runs Mana. So Mana is almost a wrapper for bolts with a bunch of other stuff built into it to make it usable as a wallet. Also, of course, Bitcoin and Lightning and Liquid are all open source too, which we use as well. As far as our own individual repo, Mana is going to be open source very soon, and maybe even by the time this airs. I mean, within the coming days. So I don't know when this is going to get uploaded, but
Couple weeks,
um,
yeah.
okay, yeah, then it's very likely by the time you're watching this, our repo will be available. But I don't know the exact date. It's very soon though. We're about ready to do that.
Okay. Um, and then this is kind of maybe sound like a dumb question, but so when you sign up for Mana, like you guys don't have any control over someone's wallet, correct?
Yeah, so I like actually how you asked that question because you said when you sign up for Mana, there is no sign up.
Okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
there isn't. So yeah, we don't have any personal data of anybody, like period. So what happens is you download the wallet and you create a or you download the app and you create a wallet. When you create a wallet, it's actually all happening locally. It's on your phone. So those keys are in the wallet on your phone. Those keys don't like come from our server or go to one of our servers or something like that. It is all on your phone locally. All of your data stays with you.
Okay. And then what happens everyone, you want to keep your Bitcoin on a hard wallet offline. What happens if, say I'm transitioning from one hard wallet to another, and I put a lot of Bitcoin on Mana. What happens if Mana goes out of business? Let's just say, I have quite a lot of Bitcoin on there, and it means a lot to me. And I'm like, wait, Adam, shut down Mana. Like it's gone. What happens to my wallet and that Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the primary driver of how we design that architecture, of course, the ability to recover funds is first and foremost the most important. But one of the main reasons is just simply because I hate walled gardens, and I don't like people that build products that require you to use them and nobody else. So, from day one, we designed a product to make sure, like, if Mana just decided to, stop working one day, what happens to our users' funds? Well, all the funds that you hold in a Mana wallet are secured and derived from keys that are generated through the standard liquid wallet protocol. So the code that I mean, it's literally just liquid. So LBTC, which is of course fully open source, and it has a standard. Yeah, we use this exact same open source protocol. It's runs an LWK node locally on your phone to generate the keys. So you can actually use it, believe it or not, you can actually take the seed phrase that Mana gives you and use that on any liquid wallet. And actually, there's a number of Spark wallets that will use the same. You can back up from the same recovery phrase too. So for those that don't know, recovery phrase is kind of like a username and password in a sense. That's a very, very crude way of looking at it, but it is where your keys are that hold your Bitcoin, so to speak. Again, looking at this from a very crude and rudimentary perspective, but if you have those keys, you can recover your funds other places. So you don't need to recover only on Mana. So if our server goes down or we get kicked off of the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, or whatever, something happens, there's a EMP or something, I don't know, you can recover on any liquid wallet. It doesn't have to be Mana. I know for sure we've tested this with Blockstream, their wallet. They have a liquid wallet. There are a lot of other liquid wallets out there. We've also tested this with Blitz. Blitz will recover your wallet, but once you recover it into Blitz, it switches into what's called Spark, which is a different layer 2 protocol. So keep that in mind. It will only go one way. You can only go from Mana to Blitz. You can't go back, I don't think. But I know like I said, I've tested recovery from Mana into Blitz, and it does work. Recovery into Blockstream works as well. Anything that uses the standard liquid, it's called a BIP39 mnemonic phrase. Anything that uses that standard architecture, you can recover your funds through.
Okay.
without
That's
Manna.
good to know because that's like, that's one thing that I think a lot of people get scared of using a wallet that's just an app on your phone is, you're kind of trusting a third party, but I guess in your case you're kind of not because
Yeah, we're not a third party here. We don't, like I said, we don't ever hold anybody's funds. The funds are actually, so the 12 words that you have for the recovery phrase, that is your money. And you can take that with you anywhere. You don't need Manna to take those 12 words to, any piece of software. And technically speaking, you can derive the keys, mathematically offline too. But it's not nearly as useful as when you have, software. But my point is it's you don't need us.
okay, that's good to know. I like that. That makes me feel like a little better about having that because I do have other wallets, like the Moon wallet or I can't even think of what other one. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so that's actually a great example. So Moon, they require you're like if Moon stopped working or went out of business, as far as I know, you can only recover on Moon, to the best of my knowledge. I'm not a Moon expert, but they have a custom recovery process. So they don't actually even, last I checked, they don't have a BIP 39 seed phrase. It's numeric. Yeah, so
so any sats on there I should probably take off there.
I am not here to
No, I don't want to
talk
bash
about
any company.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I was just thinking. I
Moon's
was like,
Moon's a great wallet. I've used Moon for so many years. I still use it today, even though I have Mana. It's actually a great platform to use for testing, and that sort of thing. But uh, as far as I understand, and I'm a layman when it comes to other, some other products, I would just say, I don't think Moon can be recovered on another platform. I think it has to be Moon, or I mean, I'm sure they have documentation on how you can recover it in other ways, but it's not straightforward.
okay. Well then this might be another dumb question then because what happens if can Mana get hacked? Like what happens if someone is able to, I don't know, get into your servers or something? Like you said you don't have access to my Bitcoin. What
Yeah.
happens if Mana gets hacked? What information, like why would someone do that if you
Yeah.
don't hold anything, and can that happen?
So you're asking me like really good questions. It's almost like I gave you these questions to ask me because these are great, great, great questions. Because we actually did get hacked.
Really?
Probably, yeah. Our servers got taken over and hijacked probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. No, maybe a little longer than that. Sometime over the summer, because I remember I told this story at the Kansas City Bitcoin Summit in September, so it would have been before then. Anyway, somebody was able to get into our server. We had, uh, s basically, some vulnerability. It's been fixed now, which is actually a good thing that this happened because we saw where the vulnerability was. But they got in, and a normal hacker would have like stolen all the customer data and like threatened to sell it or sold it themselves and made a bunch of money, or stolen funds or whatever. Anyway, they got in there, and the funny thing is the only thing they were able to do is they installed on our server some type of like crypto miner that mined some random altcoin for like a day and a half, and they made like, I mean, we burned like something like $4 worth of energy. Like that's the worst thing that happened, and unfortunately, our since the server was hijacked, the server was down, so some functions of the app weren't working properly, and that's the worst thing that happened. We got it all fixed and running within like 2 days, or like a day probably, less somewhere around 24 hours. But it was inconvenient. But nobody lost money, nobody lost any personal data because they never gave any to us. So there's basically nothing on our server except for instructions on how to deliver the software to everybody. So yeah, Mana, could get hacked, and hopefully it never happens again. But even if it does, it's marginal pain. It's not a catastrophic issue.
Okay. Because when I downloaded the app, did not sign up. When I downloaded and made my wallet, it generated a seed phrase for me. I was worrying about the hack thing because I'm like, what if someone hacks Mana and somehow they can get into my wallet? Or I don't even know how they could do this, but like, since
Right.
you guys generated the seed phrase, is it possible to pull that seed phrase from your guys' data?
Yeah, so we actually didn't generate the seed phrase. You did. Only you. You
Oh,
generated it on your phone, and that information never leaves your phone. So we didn't even create the code to generate that. That was all done by Blockstream who developed Liquid. So you have a Liquid node running on your phone in Mana, and it's all done locally.
oh.
Yeah, you're running your own node with Mana. Yeah, it's not a layer one on chain node. It's a Liquid node, but it is a self-hosted node that allows you to do processes like generate keys and things like that. But it is 100% on your phone locally, and technically speaking, you could do something to compromise that. Like, I mean, for example, if you like had some type of spyware on your phone that could read your screen or something,
Yeah.
and you displayed your seed phrase, yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. That's not obviously a mana thing, and you can probably use your better judgment on when, how, and where you're using that seed phrase. But point is that doesn't come from Mana. None of those details ever touch our server at any point.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, you guys can't help it if like someone does some sort of SIM swap or yeah, like hacks my phone and is able to control it. I don't even know how that works, but I've heard of
yeah.
that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, and you asked a question like, what if you have to do something with a lot of money? I think generally using Mana, as an in between step for sending large amounts of Bitcoin is probably okay. Mana is primarily designed as a payment app. It's intended to replace your wallet, right? We say the word wallet very intentionally. It's not intended to replace your retirement account, right? That is what your offline signing device, your hardware wallet. That's what that's for. Um, so I still would say, if you're storing a large amount of Bitcoin, you want to keep that offline probably right now. But into the future, it's going to be more and more impractical as time goes on for people to access layer one. At least that's my belief. I think that at least in our lifetimes, we're probably going to see a day where it is not feasible for the average person to make a layer one transaction, at least regularly. So it might be like, you know, probably on the frequency of maybe doing something like buying a house or buying a car. It's not like buying a coffee. So for buying a coffee, that's the sweet spot we like to live in with Mana. Um, it's kind of a measure of scales. Really, really small scales like micropayments are mostly designed for custodial options, to keep fees down. And then you have like this middle ground, which is like coffee, groceries. You go buy your steak and shake burgers. Like that's what Mana's for. And then your long-term saving where, you've got your nest egg, your retirement, you want to hold on to, $1 billion, that's where you use cold storage.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't
Sorry.
don't put $1 billion on your phone wallet, even
Yeah.
if it's super secure, but just it's not, yeah, not
It's
worth it. Don't
it's
do it.
not worth it. Wait, can
Yeah.
you expand on that point that you just made though about potentially in the future not being able to do the transaction or the base layer transactions?
Yeah, it's just math. If everybody wanted to make one transaction on Earth, it would take, I think, somewhere around 13 years.
Okay. So that makes sense. But
Yeah,
I because
it's
I
it's
do
literally
have
not possible.
okay. I do have issues with I always contemplate this but in my head where it's like I want to keep, my nest egg offline in a wallet, but then, Bitcoin, if you're ever going to use it in the future and you don't want to ever sell your Bitcoin, you're going to have to use it. Well, it's kind of a pain in the ass to send, get your hardware wallet, send it back. And it's like, it's kind of a pain in the ass to have to do that if you're going to be living on like a Bitcoin standard. You know what I mean? But I guess I want to get to that though in a minute because we did talk about that on X before. So after this, I want to talk about that as well.
Okay.
Living on
Sure.
a Bitcoin standard.
All right.
But I guess I don't have to ask this question, but I'm going to anyway because you guys don't have any data. And I was like, well, what if the government like comes to you and they're like, let's say in 2030 there's a new government and they're like, hey, Bitcoin, we're taxing everyone that owns it. We're taxing them 50%. And they come to you and they're like, give us, their data, the people that hold Bitcoin that use your app. And it's like, well, you can't really do that, right? Because
Yeah, not really. I mean, we don't know how much Bitcoin is in like people's. We don't even know what wallets are out there, right? So we don't know. I can't. I don't like how much Bitcoin exists on Mana. I can actually. I mean, we could estimate by like looking at things like how much we're getting, how much Bolts is charging in revenue, but we can't find on a fine level have any idea of how much people are holding on Mana. It's just not possible. It's like, give us your data. There's almost nothing there. We can just tell you how much people are downloading the app. Like,
yeah,
here you go. Like, we have this many downloads. It's very, very minimal data that we can even see. And we don't have any names. We don't have any personal identifiable information. Nothing like that. Everything is just anonymous. So, yeah, I mean, if the government came and tried to collect whatever they can from us, they can have whatever they want. But it doesn't matter to anybody using Mana because there's nothing to tie back to any of the users. That's just how Mana works. It's
cool.
not like these people are trying to do anything nefarious. Not like people are trying to um, avoid following the law. It's just that privacy in Bitcoin is just one of the things that is necessary in order for the whole thing to work. And so, by the design of how Mana is built, it just naturally a byproduct. You have privacy.
No, I like that. I like that answer. I like the answer to all of these. That's been nice and kind of refreshing because I never get to talk to someone who actually creates the wallets. You only get to, try the product and you're like, I have no idea what's on the back end of this thing unless it's open source and you can literally see it. And I don't even know how to do that myself. I would have to ask someone else to do it for me. So it's kind of refreshing to be like, cool, I can trust this wallet. If I send sats, like it's
Yeah.
pretty safe. It's
Yeah.
good. That's
It's
awesome.
even better if you don't have to trust it, right? You can verify.
You can
Like that's
verify.
that's that's the ethos of Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
Don't trust, verify. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then how does Mana make money? I'm so confused because you guys don't charge anything. You don't take anyone's information. You just built a product. How do you guys like survive? How do you make money?
So we do actually have a very small fee in built in to the transaction. So when you send or receive transactions, there is a small fee
Okay.
that we take, which is again emphasis on small. So when you ask how we make money, the real answer is we don't really make money. We don't. We literally don't make money. We lose money
You
right now.
lose.
I mean, it's a labor of love. But it's one of those things where we wanted to build Mana in a way that was honest and didn't require us to extract every last ounce of value from our users through things like monetization of people's data, which is how most platforms make money. And in order to do that, uh, we had to build the business without raising capital because VCs, they'll give you some runway, but eventually they're like, okay, it's time for my payday, and we need to start doing some things to start making some money. And usually in the Bitcoin space, it results in a lot of activities that we don't typically like to see. In introduction of different altcoin projects. Um, Monetization of people's data, which unfortunately happens from time to time, or just bad and risky decisions. A lot of it is fiat related, whether it's related to loans or yield. These types of things are, in my opinion, not indicative of a good, healthy company or product, right? So we wanted to just provide a product that was more of a commodity. And at some point, I want to make sure that Mana is reliable enough that people can build on top of it as well. And so if people want to build apps and stuff on top of the payment structure that we're building at Mana, it's got to be built right from the ground up. And a lot of that is making sure that we get to make the decisions instead of some investor influencing us from the outside.
Okay, that makes sense. And I like that because yeah, I hate when the investors come in and they're like, you should, 10x your fees because they're so small. Like we need a return on investment is that's what they want. And yes, if you don't have any, then you get to
Yeah, I
focus
mean,
on the product.
you can look at basically like any mainstream consumer software product in the last 20 years, like everything from like Netflix to Spotify to Amazon to, Google, like, you know, I, everybody like they'll give it to you for like free or cheap in the beginning. And then eventually they flip a switch after they've got millions of users and they just say, hey, you're going to owe us this money and you don't have another choice.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I think Netflix when that started, it was like $6 a month. Now it's
mhm,
like I don't even know what it is, but I just pay it because I'm
it's
yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah. Uh,
All right, now I wanna get to living on a Bitcoin standard 'cause,
okay.
uh, I wish I pulled it up, but I forget what I said, and, it was either you commented on it as well about, living on a Bitcoin standard, basically having, all your money or, like, your cash in Bitcoin, and then being able to, use a wallet like Mana to survive and being able to spend your money. And so I was like, I got to ask you, how could you live on a Bitcoin standard
Yeah.
using Mana?
So there are probably two ways to answer that. One is like ideologically, like what does it mean to live on a Bitcoin standard? How is that practical? And then the the technical side, and that is like, how does Mana technically accomplish this? Um, that one's a lot easier. I'll start there. So if you're living on a Bitcoin standard, Mana is your wallet, right? I mean, you can use other products too. I'm not saying that Mana is the only thing that can do this. There are other great wallets out there, and I would never, tell somebody that they are doing something wrong just because they're using somebody else's product. But the point is, Mana allows you to send and receive Bitcoin. The other cool thing about Mana is it has some pretty cool merchant tools. So if you are a business and you want to accept Bitcoin payments for something, it's great, especially for retail, because we have a point of sale built in where you can add products and services, and it's really clean. It'll track everything for you. It'll track your transactions that you can export. You can add taxes. You can add tips. You can put all of your pictures of your products in there, descriptions, and when somebody goes to pay for the product or pay their bill or whatever it is, whatever service or product you're offering, it'll actually put all that into the memo for them. So the Lightning invoice memo will have all of that in there. So it's basically like a receipt that both parties get when they pay. It's just a really clean experience. So if you haven't tried out the point of sale system in Mana,
Mm.
you should. It's pretty awesome. But very simply put, Mana, like I mentioned earlier, it's highly compatible with all sorts of product protocols, and that allows you to spend it very easily. And then receiving Bitcoin on Mana is very easy because you have a Lightning address. It's kind of like an email address. You could do, whatever your name or username you want it to be at manabitcoin.com. And that is something that is fairly unique to a self-custodial option. Not a lot of self-custody options have that. Mana does, of course. And that makes things really simple. I think that's kind of where the future is going, because that's the path of least resistance for sending and receiving value, in my opinion, because you don't have what's called the invoice dance, which is like, hey, send me an invoice for this thing. Now you don't have to ask that first question. You can just say, "Oh, I need to pay Vince. Here you go, $5. This for lunch, whatever." So you can push payments rather than only pull, which, uh, with Lightning invoicing, you can do it. Lightning invoicing is great for businesses, but it doesn't work uh, consistently as well for individuals. So that's the technical side of how you live on a Bitcoin standard with Mana. It's really easy. You just put Bitcoin in there. Either you work and somebody pays you for your work, or maybe you just converted fiat and you put it into Mana. So it's just a wallet and you can spend from it. The ideological side of living on a Bitcoin standard is a lot more personal and subjective. Uh, but I think I'll just start by saying I think that once you get enough skin in the game, over time, a lot of a lot of the concerns and the processes start to clear up a lot. Um, Meaning, once you actually start living on a Bitcoin standard, the psychological aspects of how you interact with the economy change in your own mind, and so over time, it actually just kind of clicks for most people because you realize that you went from living in this world where all of your value was being siphoned away from you into a new world where the value and the capital that you're storing, preserving, actually doesn't only just hold its value into the future, but you actually benefit from it. That the purchasing power of your value goes up over time. And so, yeah, I think from an ideological perspective, um, it's a matter of time. I don't think that anybody could or should go on a Bitcoin standard because somebody told them to. I think that you have to probably come at that from a perspective of understanding, and I think that you get that understanding through exposure. So I think it's a matter of taking a step, maybe not necessarily a baby step. It could be a pretty big step, but get some skin in the game and try to move toward a Bitcoin standard. And meaning, you know, try to take a step to try to take steps like progressively, iteratively to changing your money. So before I knew Bitcoin, money to me was like dollars. Like that's what I thought money was. Today, I'm obviously complete opposite. But I think that there's too many people out there that would say like what you have to do is you have to sell all of your dollars and you can never spend dollars again. Like I don't think that that is my definition of a Bitcoin standard. I think living on a Bitcoin standard is just changing which form of money you're using, right? So to me, Bitcoin is money, and I use dollars as a tool. I mean, I still buy things for dollars. I denominate in dollars, and I think that's okay. Like I will pay somebody $5 in Bitcoin, and I think that that's perfectly fine. And I consider myself to live on a Bitcoin standard just because Bitcoin is my money. That's my base unit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same with me. I'm like pretty much there. If you follow my tweets, you'll see that I'm pretty like open about how I live my life, and I'm like I don't keep a lot of money in my bank account, and so like
Yeah,
I'll joke about like yeah, if you go into the bank and they judge you based off what you're wearing, and like then they open your bank account and they're like, oh my god, this guy has like $3,000 in his bank account. I'm like, yes, that's all I keep in my bank because that's worthless. That's what I keep in
mhm,
there. The rest is like pretty much in Bitcoin. So
yeah.
I pretty much do that. But that did make me think, is there going to be a way to connect? Because let's say I get paid in fiat and I put it into Bitcoin onto Mana. Is there a way to link a bank account of some sort? So like if I have a certain amount of sats and I'm like, oh crap, I have to like pay an electric bill but I need more money because I keep it all in Bitcoin and it's on Mana. Is there eventually going to be a way where I'm like, hey, I want to send some of those sats, convert it back to cash into my bank account? Is that something maybe in the
On Mana?
future?
On Mana?
Yeah.
Yes, that is, we haven't announced anything yet. That is coming. So,
Okay.
uh, Official announcement to be made shortly, but yes, that will be happening soon.
Okay, because I mean, like I said, I use Strike for most of that kind of thing, and so I was like, well, yeah, I don't know when you're gonna announce it. Like, 'cause this might not come out for a couple weeks, or I know it won't come out for a couple weeks. So,
Yeah,
um,
hopefully we've made the announcement by then. I guess that's what I'd say. But
so
yeah,
I'll be
there
able
will
to
be.
buy Bitcoin on Mana.
That's right.
Okay, cool. And then you guys will you have to do KYC then?
Yes, so that'll be an opt-in optional process. So it'll be another third party, and the KYC goes to them. The KYC doesn't come to us. We're again still not currently, nor do we ever plan on playing the fiat game of being what's called a money service business.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so we're never going to be an MSB. At least I hope not. I don't know. Things you never know. Never say never, but no, we're just going to let a third party exchange handle all that, and then when you buy the Bitcoin, it'll be deposited directly into your Mana wallet. So it will be 100% still self-custodial. Um, there will never be any custody. Like the exchange is not going to hold on to that Bitcoin. It'll go directly to your Mana wallet.
Okay. Well, then I won't ask too many other questions about that. I'll let you do your announcement whenever you do.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want you to say anything that you're like hoping to say.
We could do another follow-up and we can talk all about it. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. We can do that. Um, well, cool. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Mana? Is there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to kind of share about Mana?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking on a couple questions ago or what I was talking about a moment ago about being on a Bitcoin standard that I wanted to add. And that is like, I don't think that just owning Bitcoin, I mean, that is great. That's step one. But I think being on a Bitcoin standard also includes buying and selling things for Bitcoin, like I said. But those steps that I was talking about, taking steps to move toward that, I think one of the biggest ways that you can start taking those steps is by replacing things that you already buy in your everyday life with fiat, but doing it not only paying in Bitcoin, but doing it with and for a Bitcoiner. So go find somebody in the Bitcoin space that is, you know, selling meat, beef, right? Do you eat meat?
Yeah, of course.
Go find a rancher that accepts Bitcoin, that stacks sats, and go give them your business instead of, the grocery store, right? Because they don't care. They don't care about you, that's for sure, you know? But, you go find a local rancher and you go start developing a relationship with them and have the opportunity to maybe go see, the type and the quality of product that they're producing. Go take a look at the animals, go look at the fields that they're in, the pastures, the quality of life that these animals are living. And there's so many aspects that go into giving business to people that actually care about you that can improve your life. And that goes, that's across the board. So, I buy, of course, I buy all, not all of my meat, but I try to buy all the meat that I can from my local rancher. I buy my soap in Bitcoin. I buy my milk and cheese. I do I have a salsa dealer. I like salsa, and there happens to be somebody in our local Bitcoin meetup group that makes salsa. And so we do like every like week or 2 weeks or so we have a Bitcoin meetup, and we'll do like orders for everybody that sells stuff. And so, yeah, I think that it's just like I was saying. I think those steps are really different for everybody, but the easy ones are just replacing what you're already doing, but do it with a Bitcoiner. There's plenty of options. Coffee. I don't personally drink coffee, but
Me either.
there are lots of great Bitcoin coffee companies out there. Um, yeah, just go find the commodities that you consume, and instead of giving your time, effort, energy, and money to somebody who doesn't care about you and doesn't care about the product or the quality of the service that they're providing you, go give it to a Bitcoiner.
I agree. That's one thing I really want to do out here in Florida. And I know there's good ranchers out here in Florida. I really want to find like a local rancher who I can buy like, a quarter of a cow or half a cow type thing
Yeah.
and hopefully be able to pay him in Bitcoin so I can do that because I do eat pretty much a carnivore diet. I eat eggs for lunch and steak for dinner pretty much every day. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
that would be fantastic if I could find that. I should make that like one of my little goals, but that's a different story. But
Yeah. I recently just switched over to a mostly carnivore diet, just because I was eating. I mean, I generally eat pretty healthy anyway, but I was consuming, you know, more non-animal products than what would be considered like a carnivore diet. Um, but I wanted to go a little bit more clean, and recently I had to kind of switch back a little bit and throw some carbs in because my body just wasn't having a good time. So I'm gonna try it again. Yeah, it's a better way to eat for sure.
yeah, I've found that when I eat like at night is when I get my cravings. It's easy during the day. All day I'm fine. But around 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's like my body craves sweets or carbs or something. Like I want bread or pasta or chocolate. It's so weird. And I'm still adjusting to that. And it's been like 4 months and I like can't shake it.
It's just as a side note, if we have time, I was just gonna say I have a son that's allergic to wheat, so we haven't had bread for like 4 years. So it's actually kind of easy, it's kind of nice because it's like I'm not tempted to eat bread because it could potentially kill my kid,
That makes it
but
easy, yeah.
yeah, it's a nice little I don't know, it's helped us improve our diet.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I like that diet. But anyway, I wanted to ask you just a couple other little fun questions to kind of close out, unless there's anything else you wanted to bring up about Mana or what you're doing in the future or anything.
No, I don't think so. I would just say on the topic of Manna, we have an open Telegram group if for anybody that's interested in asking questions or anything like that. I'm obviously available too, but we have a nice group that uh, early testers and people that just like to request features and that sort of thing. So if you're interested, the link is inside the app. It's also on the website.
Okay, I'll try to link everything I can in the description. Obviously, like your X, the app, and everything like that. I'll put that in the description down below. But anyway, some fun questions. First of all, what are your thoughts on gold versus silver versus Bitcoin right now in the price action? Because everyone, that's like all I kind of see on X right now is just like, holy shit, look at silver, look at gold. It's insane. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'll just say, like, obviously, I know very little about this, so don't take any advice from me.
No,
But
no, this is not
no,
financial
I
advice.
know,
This is
I know. I'm just for anybody watching, like, don't take my advice. This is just my opinion, but uh, I think in the near term, like especially silver, uh, is feeling very toppy, in U.S. dollar terms, and I don't necessarily mean that it can't keep going up, because my belief is essentially silver is going to go up forever against the dollar because the dollar is going down forever. Um, and gold's a similar story too. It's a little, in my opinion, though, it's a little bit of a more different story, just simply because the mechanics about supply are a little bit different. Um, so the thing that I am having trouble with when I see people going super hard into metals right now, especially silver. Again, gold's a little bit different, but let's just talk about silver for a second. Um, every dollar is a marginal value opportunity add to extract more silver from the earth, right? So every time that silver goes up in price against the dollar, it becomes more profitable to go find more silver. And silver's, it's not scarce. I mean, it is scarce, but it's not absolutely scarce, right? So there's a lot more silver in the earth that we just don't have yet. And it's, relatively easy to get compared to Bitcoin, of course, but it gets easier to get when you can justify spending more money to get it, right? So, um, I wouldn't be going in on silver right now when I have the option of buying Bitcoin. Um, Same with gold. I mean, gold's really hard. I think there's a lot of macroeconomic factors to consider as well too, because you have the central banks that are hedging against geopolitical um, uncertainty, and so uh, gold and silver are both being highly driven up and highly bid competitively because people are making the debasement trade, so to speak. That just means that they're investing in something that's not dollars or government bonds, essentially fiat currency or government bonds. um so my belief is that these are probably local tops for in Bitcoin terms for both gold and silver. And I would personally I'm in Bitcoin, right? I'm not buying silver.
Yeah.
But it is pretty incredible to have seen the rapid rise over the last few months of both of those assets. And in my mind, it's more of an example of the collapse of the dollar more so than it is the appreciation of the value of those. I mean, silver didn't become twice as silvery. Gold didn't become twice as goldy. It's like they still do the same thing they did a year ago. They're just worth a lot more in terms of dollars, which just basically means your dollar is getting you less silver, your dollar is getting you less gold, your dollar is getting you less Bitcoin. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my opinion on it. Not super eloquent. Just just wanted to kind of put my thoughts out there for anybody who might find it interesting.
Yeah. No, I was listening to Larry Lepard today,
Oh yeah.
and
He's a
on
much more educated guy to listen to on the subject than me, by the way.
well, he said he was trimming his silver position, and he said he was moving it to MSTR or something. But he said something kind of fascinating, and I really wish I was at the gym when I was listening to it, but I really wish I had the numbers. He said something like, 580 ounces of silver is mined per year, and he was like, that amount of silver gets traded per day on the markets. So he was like, the amount of paper silver right now is like insane. So he was like, it's kind of like a top signal for him or something. And so anyway, I just thought,
That's a good point. It just if you look at the amount of paper products derivatives
yeah,
of if you're comparing gold, silver, and Bitcoin, there is a lot of paper Bitcoin out there, right? I would consider pretty much anything held in these Bitcoin treasury companies or ETFs like that. Those probably would qualify just simply because it's not individuals holding their own keys. But just looking at the absolute numbers, there's significantly more. I mean, exponentially more paper derivative products on top of silver and gold than there is Bitcoin. So that also worries me, especially as we get to the where we have these potential blow off top moments where silver and gold are just ripping faces off right now. Um, that's a lot of opportunity for these paper derivatives traders to be market makers, or market makers to step in and start manipulating things. I mean, we see this happen very clearly in Bitcoin all the time, if for those of us that pay attention, but it's a much smaller scale because there's much less derivatives out there for Bitcoin, a lot less leverage, right? A lot less margin trading. So silver and gold, there's so much leverage and margin trading out there that it's a lot easier for somebody with a ton of money to manipulate it. And if they wanted to crash the silver market right now, it's very possible. We don't know what the mechanics are because a lot of it's unknown. Uh, a lot of it's behind the scenes, so you can't really see what all the derivatives are out there. You can't see how much leverage is out there all the time. You can see some of it, but not all of it.
yeah, yeah. Now I don't own any gold or silver. I leave that to like my dad. He likes to own that kind of stuff. But like I would so much rather own like the actual physical bars than like, like a paper note on,
Yeah.
same thing with Bitcoin. I'd rather own the Bitcoin than an ETF. But
Yeah.
anyway, last question. What are you looking forward to in 2026? And do you have any type of predictions on how the Bitcoin market might go in 2026?
Yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a great year for Bitcoin, um, in terms of number go up. That's what I think.
Okay.
I'm predicting a green candle for 2026. Obviously, I can't predict the future. Again, grain of salt. Don't take my advice. Just use it for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I do think there's a lot of factors that go into that. But the biggest one right now for me, and the one that I've been paying most attention to, is these perpetual preferred equity products from. I mean, you have mostly the two primary. Let's just narrow it down to one, right? We have Stretch
Yeah.
from Strategy. I think Stretch is going to have its year in 2026, where instead of couple $100 million a week, we're gonna start seeing billions of dollars a week, tens of billions of dollars a week coming in through Stretch. And that's just essentially money finding a home in a product that is, pricing the inflation of the economy appropriately. And so that's what I think. That's why I think uh, treasuries are struggling right now, is because they're not appropriately pricing the cost of capital. And the market is starting to figure that out, because you see the Fed lowering rates, yet the treasury rates that are actually rising. And if you take a snapshot, I saw somebody post something, and it kind of blew my mind, that that the treasury rates, I think it was the 10-year, is actually higher now than it was when they started cutting rates at the Fed. So that's actually the opposite thing that should happen, by the way.
Okay.
Um, the treasury should follow the Fed funds rate, and it's not. So yeah, that's a problem. Um, and again, I think it's just the fact that capital isn't being priced properly. And I think Strategy, actually, and Michael Saylor himself has, figured this out in such a way that it's really easy for people to see. And then more and more people are able to see it, because it's very clear when you can put it in simple terms that, we have this much of an asset backing our products. So you can see how much capital is, how well capitalized Strategy is, and how well capitalized their products are that they're offering to the market. They of course have Bitcoin, massive amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have their common share equity, MSTR, and they have US dollars cash. Um,
Yeah.
which some people like that, some people don't, but all of these things are backing these preferreds, right? So they're like backstops, if you will. And so Strategy is consistently decreasing the risk of these products, and they're also increasing the dividend rate. And so these products are getting better and better over time. And it's really easy to see, like, oh hey, I can, in simple terms, like, I can go put my money in this bank account, if you will, air quotes, not a real bank account, but I can go put my money in this bank account, and they'll give me a rate of 12 or 11%, whatever product you're buying. Stretch is 11% right now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, most savings accounts pay less than half of a percent.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to be the catalyst for 2026. Mostly Stretch. I mean, I predict we'll see, at least 50 billion in the first 6 months of 2026 through Stretch. I think it's just going to blow up. That's a very big number. I could be way off, but I think it's just going to ramp up, and we're going to start seeing more and more buys. I think by like June or July, we might be at, like, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 billion a week, maybe more. I don't know. We'll
Dang.
see.
That'd be pretty intense. I mean, yeah, he just did like the 2 billion, almost 2.5 billion buy, and it's like yeah, that'd be wild. Uh, I hope it happens. I'm here for it. I'm excited. Uh,
It's I'll just say like that's really good for number go up. It's good for people that have already decided to go onto a Bitcoin standard. It doesn't do much for freedom go up. So I just want to put that caveat there because, it's worth saying like this is all, it's all fiat games. Like the real signal is buy Bitcoin, you know, hold it in self custody and use Bitcoin as your money in your own life. Like that is where you're going to benefit most from Bitcoin. It's not just from sitting on the sidelines and watching companies buy Bitcoin. Like that's not really doing anything for Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I think that it's more important to really participate on Bitcoin itself rather than just through the current financial system.
yeah, no, I agree. That was well said. And of course, yeah, not financial advice. It was all for entertainment purposes only. So it's all good. Where can people find you on the internet?
Probably in a link below. I'm at Adam Simecka on X. And then the wallet is at Manna Bitcoin on X as well. But X is where I spend my time. So find me over there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this, man. Thank you guys for listening. Please hit like, please comment below. Download Mana, give it a try. Play with it. Go find some ranchers and buy some beef from them. Use Mana, and then we'll get the circular economy going with Bitcoin. That's what we need to do. So, please subscribe if you haven't. And thank you again, Adam. And we will talk to you guys next time. All right.
Pleasure is all mine, Vince. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Peace.